Available in paperback at e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about how some people believe they need to become rich and famous to prove to a family member that they're wrong about them ever becoming successful in life. Now, this was a topic that really hit home to me because when I was younger, I used to believe this idea, and I wanted to prove to people like my late father that I could be a success in life. And as I wanted to go on this quest, I didn't really see how it was detrimental to my whole perception of self and my whole mindset overall. Now, when I was 7 years old, I had a brain aneurysm happen to me, and as I came out of that surgery in 1981, going on 8 years old, this is where my people's entire perception of me completely changed. And I went from being a kid that my family really liked to becoming a child that basically some people thought wasn't one that was ever going to be someone who could achieve anything. And I could see this in the way that my father in some ways would talk to me, and I could also see it in the way that my classmates treated me. And it basically, as I was out here, it basically gave me a complex that made me think that I needed to do something big in order to be successful, to prove people wrong about their perceptions of me. Now, as I was returning to school in the 3rd grade, a lot of my classmates basically thought that I was slow or retarded, and others thought that there was something wrong with me after I came out of this operation. And as I was going to school, they looked at me completely different as related to their perception of me. And this really gave me a complex where I wanted to go out here and prove to people that I wasn't some sort of slow kid, and I wanted to show how intelligent I was. And this is what started me on a quest to try to win awards in school and do well in school. Unfortunately, as I was out here, I was just struggling with this whole situation. And as I struggled with this situation, I wasn't able to really do well as I wanted. I couldn't be the achiever that I wanted when I was in elementary school, and things got progressively worse as I entered junior high school, and things only turned around when I got 16 years old and I changed from one high school to another. But I still went on this quest to try to prove to people how smart I was and how capable I was and competent as related to life. I wanted to go out here and not only win awards, but I wanted to go out here and get success in life. That's what I wanted to do, to prove to people that I was not this retarded, slow individual, because a lot of people when I was going to school thought that I needed to go into special ed, and others thought that I needed to just give up on life and go take a SSI check and basically just call it a life. And I ran into this kind of negative perception of me, and it just basically really frustrated me. I remember when a grade advisor at Park West High School, when I was in the 11th grade, gave up on me as related to my credits. And again, all of this made where I wanted to work just that much harder to get success, and it basically just really frustrated me because I wanted to show people what I could do, and I wanted to go on this quest to become successful in life, to prove to people that I wasn't the slow kid that people thought that I was because of this brain aneurysm. That's what I wanted to prove to people. So I know all about this whole quest to want to become rich and famous, to become successful, to prove to people that you are competent, because this is something that I wanted to prove to my father when he was alive. I wanted to show him that I could be a competent man like he was and have the success that he did in life. And I wanted to go out here and show that as related to proving my intelligence to people, as related to going to college. And I also wanted to prove it by going out here and publishing books. This was what my plan was when I was younger, in my 20s. But as I came up in my 20s and I just kept running into roadblocks, it basically was a thing that really frustrated me, because I couldn't really prove to people that I was competent. And it really frustrated me because I saw so many people, again, looking, as I thought, to doubt me. But I really didn't understand that, this quest for success was nothing more than a covert contract. Now, after I read Dr. Robert Glover's Mr. Nice Guy in my mid-30s, I really started to see where I was making a mistake with this whole quest to try to become successful in life, because this quest to try to become successful in life was nothing more than a covert contract that nobody outside of myself knew all about. And what I wanted to do when I was younger was go out here and think that, if I go out here and get this success, people would go out and really start to see the good in me, and they would see that and want to validate me. And it was a major mistake on my part. It was a major mistake on my part to think that, if I go out here and do something, this would basically prove things to people and make them believe that I was competent. No, this wasn't going to prove anything to a person who didn't want to see it. And that was the mistake that I made when I was younger, and I followed this all the way up into my 30s. I followed this all the way up into my 30s, believing, if I go out here and get this success, if I go out here and get this whole thing as related to being rich and famous, what this would do is change people's perceptions of me. But the whole thing was I didn't really change my perception of self. And if I don't change my perception of self, I can't get somebody to see my value unless I see that value myself. That's what I learned as related to myself after I lost my job at City College. Nobody's going to see my value unless I see my value. And all this quest to try to become successful, to prove to somebody that they're wrong, all that's doing is giving power to somebody else. And when you give power to somebody else, what you're doing is no matter how much success you get, you're always going to see it as a failure. And as you see it as a failure, what you're going to do is think that you need to continue to do more to try to get that impression from that person. What you think you're going to need to do is continue to try to do more things to get more success. And instead of you seeing that you have gone out here and accomplished great things with the help of God, what you see is that you're never going to do anything to please another person. And even worse, what you're doing is going out here and disrespecting God, who's gone out here and blessed you with these opportunities. No, instead of going out here and thanking the Father in heaven, you're making a man or a woman into a God. And in some ways, I believe I was doing that with my late father, making him into a God, trying to get his respect and his approval, trying to get his respect and approval as related to accomplishing something in life that I thought he would see as something he would respect. That was one of the big mistakes that I made when I was younger, and I didn't really start to see it until later that, this was a major mistake that I was doing, looking to go on this quest for this success in order to think that if I go out here and go on this quest for success, people would see the value in things that I did. But what I've seen in this world from going on that quest is that nobody is going to value anything you do unless you value it yourself. And again, when it comes to people, a lot of people are never going to see any value in what you do. You can go out here and make millions of dollars. You can go out here and win great awards. But when it comes to some people, because they are spellbound, what they will do is not really see the value in what you're doing. No, they won't see the value in what you're doing because they don't value anything that you do. I mean, this is what I ran into with a lot of my family members as related to my writing. I mean, I could go out here and really write a solid story, but they didn't see a value in it, and they weren't going to see the success of the accomplishments that I was able to do. I mean, being able to write multiple novels, being able to write multiple nonfiction books. Some people can't really appreciate what you do, and the whole thing is that going out here and trying to get their approval, that's just a waste of your time. And that's where I started to change how I approached the way I did things, and started to change the type of stories I was going to tell, because instead of trying to seek validation and approval from people as related to the stories I was writing, instead I started to write for things that I was passionate about. And instead of looking to get into a covert contract with people to try to get them to see my value as a person as related to seeing my talent, I started going out and looking to create things that I believed were good, and going out here and looking to get success, not to gain the approval and praise of other people, but to go out here and look to work on taking on challenges that I'm passionate about. I mean, that's what I have been doing ever since I lost my job back in 2008. I mean, instead of me going on this quest to try to prove to my family and people like my father, trying to earn their respect by trying to think, oh, if I get this job, it will go out and please my father. It would be the thing that would show him that I was competent. I started to say, you know what, I am a solid writer. I have the talent and ability, and I'm doing this because I loved writing ever since I was 4 years old, and I'm not looking to try to get any sort of praise or validation from any institution at this point. That's why I can honestly say these days I can walk away from the entertainment industry, and I can walk away from the whole community of comic fandom and say, you know what, I'm not going to go out here and look to prove something to you. Because the whole thing is, if you don't want to see what I have to offer, then I'm just wasting my time trying to chase you for validation and approval. That's one of the things that I've learned over the last 15 years, as haven't been able to get that job to prove to my father that I could be competent, is to believe in myself the way I wasn't able to do in my 20s. I mean, in my 20s, I was always upset because I couldn't get that job to prove things to people. And when I did get jobs like I did at AmeriCorps, people, they saw what I was doing, but they didn't value it. But I've learned that, people are not, you cannot show somebody something they don't want to see. That's all part of being spellbound. All part of being spellbound is that you could have somebody there who has got the key to a gold mine, but if you don't want to see what that person has to offer, then that person is going to never see the value of it, because they don't see a value in you as a person. And you can't show somebody something that could give them gold and diamonds. I mean, you can't show somebody something they don't want to see. And every effort you make to try to show a spellbound person something they don't want to see is you giving that person power over yourself and devaluing everything about yourself. That's what you're doing when you try to prove family members and other people wrong. What you're doing is giving people power, and that was one of the biggest mistakes I made in my life, starting at 8 years old, thinking, oh, if I go get the good grades, if I go out here and win the awards, people will see my value. And the whole thing is, people are not going to see your value no matter what you do. And you just have to do things for yourself because you love yourself. And you have to do things and accomplish things because you want to accomplish them. And they have to have value to you. You can't think about it having value to other people, because some people are never going to value what you have. They're not going to appreciate the good work that you do. They're not going to appreciate it because they want everything to come into a box that is acceptable to white society, and they want to fit everything into a box. They want to see everything follow a sequence. Oh, this person, in order to be successful, they believe that they have to go out here and go to a certain school. They have to go out here and have certain internships. They have to have recommendations from certain people. They have to have a certain job. And again, basically, they only see everything fitting into boxes. That's one of the hard lessons I learned when I tried to apply for a job as a security guard. I mean, this woman, I was applying for this job that a couple of years ago, and she laughed at me because I didn't work at one of these companies. But the whole thing is, she couldn't see my value because it didn't fit into a box. And again, that's what happens when you have people out here. They're never going to see anything. And again, you can't open the eyes of the blind. Only Jesus could do that. And even in the case of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, here was the Son of God standing in front of them, and they couldn't see it. I mean, they couldn't see that the Son of God was standing in front of them because they were so caught up in their world. And instead of looking to acknowledge the power of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords standing in front of them, what they sought to do was go out and show their loyalty to the world. And that's the same thing that a person does when they aspire to be rich and famous. They become like those Pharisees and those Sadducees, not going out here and giving their power to a false god, giving their power to a false god, thinking that the false god will make them successful in life, and not trusting in the Most High God who's standing before them, who can bless them with everything. And again, this quest for success is something that is done out of a person's ignorance. And again, they don't see how they're creating a covert contract where they're hoping to be this thing to be fulfilled, but it never will be fulfilled. No, won't never be fulfilled. You will never prove this person wrong because you don't see what's right about yourself. You don't see what's right about yourself. And because you don't see what's right about yourself, you don't see your value as a person. And that's the whole sad part about the quest to become rich and famous, to prove a family member wrong, is that you wind up becoming poor. You wind up becoming spiritually poor, mentally poor, and you wind up missing out on the joys of the abundant life that God wants to give you, because as you make all of your success, you're miserable in your own company, and you're miserable in your own company because you're giving all of your power away to someone who doesn't value you or appreciate who you really are, and cannot see who you really are because you've got a picture of yourself in your mind where you see yourself as less than. And as you see yourself as less than, you never see how valuable you are. And instead of you seeing the power that you have as a person, never seeing the success you have in front of you and appreciating and enjoying that success, you continue to go on a quest trying to find validation from other people instead of taking your power and seeing how powerful you are. You don't really see and appreciate who you are. You don't see what you're capable of. You don't really appreciate yourself. And that's the whole thing that happens when you go on this quest to prove people wrong. You don't really see how right you are, and you don't see who you are and value who you are. I mean, this was something that I had to learn how to do over the last 15 years, get off this quest to try to prove to people that I was a competent and capable person, and see and myself as I really am, a competent, capable, professional person. May not be able to do it at one of these corporations where they don't appreciate what I have to offer, but I have to see my value as a creator, my value as a as a publisher, and going out here and can do the work. I have to see my value as a man, and that's something that I've learned over the years. And what I've learned is that you cannot fulfill this covert contract to prove people wrong. No, you have to go out here and, instead of looking to prove something to someone, know that you are a competent person, know that you have these skills, know you have these abilities, and again, you find a richness in life, as related to yourself, because you understand that you can't prove anything to anyone. And that was my mistake. I was trying to prove something to my father when he was alive, wanted to earn his respect, but there's no way I can earn that respect or get that respect now that he's not alive. And again, there's nobody there to give that power to. So as a man, I have to understand that, again, this quest was a waste of time. And again, success is something that is subjective, and what the world considers success is not what God considers success. And again, this quest to prove other people wrong is sort of like idolatry. And again, you're putting somebody in front of God, and that's not something you want to do. And again, when it comes to proving people wrong, again, that's giving people power. So as I see it, I've got nothing to prove to anyone. I just need to go out here and put my best stuff on the table. I've got nothing to prove out here as related to proving to people that I'm smart. If I know what I am, I just go out here and do it, not looking for anybody's validation or approval, because again, giving people that kind of power is coming from a position of weakness, and what I want to do is come from that position of strength, understanding the power that I have as a man. And when you understand the power you have, you don't go out here going on a quest to prove people wrong. You see that everything is right about you. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can send a donation for a minimum of $15 to the Cash App or the PayPal by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of the positive books that I've produced over the last 30 years, you can find the books of the SJS Direct imprint, such as the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, my Black sorority novel, The Thetas, my Black vampire novel, Eternal Night, and my Black business novel, Recipes for Success, and my men's issues books. You can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.